Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Arigato. On the airplane from Sapporo yesterday, I caught a cold, so please forgive me if I have to take a moment and clear my nasal passage. My name is Alexs Collier, and I am from the United States of America. And ever since I was 8 years old, I have been having contact with a group of human beings from the constellation of Andromeda, which is in our own galaxy. We are going to talk for a couple of hours about a great deal of things. First, I would like to share with you, and I want to be sure to go slow so that the translators are able to repeat everything. Earth, our home, is one of a kind. There is no other place like it. Nowhere else in all of our galaxy do we have as much insect life, plant life, mammal, animal, reptilian, human, many, many different races, many different types of life forms in a very, very complex ecosystem. The story on how Earth became so complex is that because we are at the edge of our galaxy, many extraterrestrial explorers, ET explorers, would pass by. Some would stay. Some would take water before their journey out of our galaxy to another. Many would leave life forms that they had found or discovered elsewhere on Earth. Many of these life forms would have to be genetically modified so that they could live here. This is why in much of the geological record we find life forms fully formed. Okay. The Andromedans are a human race. There are human races everywhere throughout our galaxy and other galaxies. There are many other different types of life forms as well, all having consciousness on different levels of dimensions, different dimensions, not only on third density, but fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, etc. Within those densities, dimensions, there is physicality. Okay? Different physicality, but there is a physicality. The Andromedan race is very ancient. Its ancestry can be traced in our galaxy to Lyra. The reason for the pigmentations of their skin, which is blue, is because of the minerals in their soil and their sun. They come from fifth dimension. They are not third dimension like we are. As such, they have a different perspective, different technology, different spirituality, and yet they want to share with us the knowledge of who we are. Now, like all people on Earth, ETs also have a different perspective. They view events differently. Therefore, like with all things that are an experience of which we gain wisdom, we have to use discernment. Okay? The Andromedans are one of at least 22 different races that they claim have genetic lineage to us on Earth. Okay. They claim to be one of our ancestors, dating back as far as and before of Lemuria, 62,000 years ago. Now, because they are fifth density, does not mean that they can physically be in third. They can be. Many using technology, even for short times, periods of time. The reason they have come back is that our technology on Earth, much of which we're not even aware of, because as Dr. Sala has said, has been classified or is secret, particularly that of for war, for defense, has far surpassed our spirituality. The reason they're concerned, based on past galactic history, everywhere, is that when technology far surpasses spirituality, that particular race, in most cases, destroys itself. This, of course, would grieve them. And throughout our galaxy, there are the remnants of civilizations that have reached a high level of technology that no longer exist. The reason this is a concern is because the currency of the galaxy is not money. It's consciousness and it's DNA. It is life forms. It is the expression of life. It is the expression of life becoming something else and evolving. It is the expression of a life form reaching consciousness, becoming aware of itself, and evolving to another dimension. These are miracles that we do for ourselves. So this is one of the reasons why many ETs come here to study us, to visit us. Now, having said that, I also want you to know that we have free will. There have been many interventions on Earth stopping catastrophes and terrible weapons of war. It's important that I say this to you. There are no guarantees that they will continue to intervene on our behalf. It is not that we're not worthy. It is not that we're not loved. It's because we have free will. And we, as a race, not just Japan, not just America, not just China, not just Russia, all countries are one race. They see one race. They don't see many races. They see one. The Terran race. And we are creating this reality. Those of us who are awake, those of you here who are discovering yourself or know yourself already and are trying to help awaken others, as we are trying to do in America, which desperately needs that kind of awakening, all share the same passion, and that's peace and love. We all want our children to grow up with clean food, clean water, educations, and free from harm. Okay? Again, the reason for saying this, and I will share with you in the Andromedan's own words their concerns for humanity, is because if we stop and make the mistake of thinking someone is going to come and fix our problems, we may have a rude awakening. And then all that time when we could have been working, we did nothing. Okay? The Andromedans are an incredible race. Technologically, they are 10,000 years more advanced than we are, if you can compare the two. Spiritually, they consider themselves to be 50,000 years more advanced than we are. This apparently is indicative of the older, more successful civilizations. Spirituality drives technology, not the other way around. Okay? The Andromedan legends are that that their ancestors came from Lyra, the constellation of Lyra. However, the human race, those ancestors came from someplace else. They themselves have not discovered the exact root or place of the human race. Legends have it in their world that something cataclysmic was happening in a galaxy where they were, and they were told and guided by a force, by another race, a higher dimensional race, to go enter a wormhole, and they would come out in a place that was safe to colonize. far enough away from the catastrophe, which is our galaxy. These legends are millions and millions and millions and millions of years old. When they discovered space travel, they built small ships. When it was time to migrate to other worlds, they did not have the raw materials to build big 100-mile ships. So the smaller ships would go out into space and would capture asteroids in space. They would pull them into an orbit around their planets. They would hollow them out from the inside and build their spacecraft on the inside of the asteroid. That became their ship. And they would put propulsion systems on the outside, and then they would go out into space. They would grow their own food on the inside. They would look for water. Many of their ships, many of the crews of some of those maiden early ships perished because they could not find habitable environments or enough resources. But others did in fact survive. We face those same challenges here on Earth. So there is much that they can teach us. As they evolved as a species, as a race, spiritually, they now travel in 800-mile motherships that are completely self-contained. They use free energy, as Dr. Sala has referred to. In fact, all of them do. Okay? Okay. And the motherships are like their home world. Many of the Andromedans that live on the ships both live, die, reincarnate into other lives on the same motherships. Many have never been to their home world. Their motherships are fantastic, absolutely fantastic. They pull water from space because everywhere there's hydrogen. They use free energy. On the inside, there are hundreds and hundreds of miles of parks with lakes, forests, groves where they grow food. They are fruitarians. They eat fruit. When their scout teams or scientists go to other parts and they leave the mothership, they take small little green wafers with them. This is their food. That's very nutritious and makes them full, 1 tablet a day. The Andromedans live an average life of 2,007 years of our Earth years in one life. Some actually live twice that. Okay? So they see many things. They have tremendous wisdom. And as Colonel Stevens had said in previous lectures, and maybe he said it today, for some reason when the ETs leave their physicality and incarnate back in, come back in through the birth process, they remember who they are. They don't have the spiritual blind that we on Earth have to deal with. Their DNA is 9-strand, not just 2. They are telepathic. If I could take all of you into their mothership and we were to walk into one of their park areas, you would see many people. But you wouldn't hear a sound except for the birds, the insects, and the animals. Okay, there'd be no sound because they all talk to each other by thought transference using telepathy. Telepathy is very interesting, and it is a phenomenal experience. And as Miss Angelica Wycliffe is going to share with you tomorrow in her talk about telepathy, is that you get entire concepts like this. For example, if we were to take our world and compile books on love, it would probably fill this room and then some. In the Andromedan world, where they come from, when they talk to each other and they talk about love, you get all of those books and more just like that. It's all in your head. It's right there. And now you know everything. It's very hard to process it. Sometimes you don't even know what you have in your head, which is why I'm a big fan of questions and answers periods. Because sometimes if people don't ask the question, I don't necessarily know what I know. Okay?